Revealed, the touching moment she asked a stranger for a kiss discover his life-changing secret. Sarah stood on the bustling downtown sidewalk, the heartbeat of the city pulsating around her. She felt like a ghost among the throngs of vibrant people, a single mother just trying to survive another day. Her 6-year-old son, Jacob, was her light. He deserved more than the shadowy corners of struggle. As she wiped her brow, sweat mixing with the city heat, she felt the weight of the world pressing on her shoulders. Today felt particularly heavy. After working 2 jobs, one at a cafe, the other cleaning office buildings, her spirit was drained. The idea of heading home to a quiet, empty apartment felt suffocating. Just as she contemplated stopping at a store to buy dinner, she noticed a charming bakery nearby. The smell of fresh pastries wafted towards her, pulling her closer. It was a tiny haven, family-run, and operated by Mike, a retired Army veteran with the kind of smile that could disarm even the most guarded of souls. Feeling unusually bold, Sarah approached the counter, her heart racing. Could I have a kiss?" she blurted out, her cheeks burning. Mike paused, then leaned over the counter, a twinkle in his eye as he placed a soft kiss on her cheek. She giggled, the warmth spreading through her as if she'd just tasted something sweet. In that brief moment, it felt like all her loneliness melted away. "That's a bold move," Mike chuckled, a genuine grin spreading across his face. They began sharing stories there, surrounded by flour and frosting. Sarah opened up about how society often judged her for needing help. She felt small in a world so big, filled with misconstrued ideas about single mothers. Mike, too, unveiled his layers, the ghosts of a past life in the military and his struggle to find meaning beyond the armory walls. Days turned into weeks, and their friendship blossomed amidst neighborhood fairs celebrating community spirit. At the annual summer fair, the vibrant lights and sounds danced around them. Jacob rushed into the bakery, and with pure childlike glee, he ran toward Mike. "You've got to try this cupcake." Jacob beamed, oblivious to the weighty pasts that surrounded them. Mike knelt, his face lighting up as he exclaimed, "I can't believe you found my secret weapon." In that sweet moment, Sarah viewed the budding relationship like a bridge, connecting 2 worlds that seemed miles apart. Laughter erupted between them, filling the gaps of worry with joy. But underneath that joy, she struggled with the fear of allowing Mike into her life more deeply. Her heart raced, filled with hesitation as Mike once mentioned resources and help for struggling families. Accepting assistance felt like admitting defeat, a break in her pride. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as a whirlwind of laughter filled the air, a sudden chill swept through the fair as an accident occurred, and a child fell near the rides. Instincts kicked in, panic rippling through the crowd. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest. Life could change in an instant. Her mind raced, the scene forcing her to confront her deepest fears, her reluctance to lean on Mike, the potential connection they shared, yet the fear of how fleeting happiness could be. Standing at a crossroads of vulnerability and strength, she sensed the moment might shatter all her reservations. Would she finally reach for help, or would she allow her fears to keep her shackled? With uncertainty lingering in the air, she heard someone calling her name. "Sarah! Over here!" The voice cut through the chaos, familiar yet distant. It belonged to Mrs. Thompson, a neighbor from the apartment complex. She was waving frantically, her face pale with worry. Ignoring the paralyzing dread that twisted in her stomach, Sarah rushed to the source of the call. Jacob was inches away from the commotion, peeking at the fallen child. Adrenaline surged, she couldn't let him witness any more than he already had. "Stay here, honey," she shouted, trying to keep her voice steady. But as she moved, fear pulsed painfully in her veins. The sight of a crumpled form on the ground, surrounded by a crowd of concerned adults, sent chills racing down her spine. She'd seen too many struggles in her life, she didn't want Jacob to witness this side of reality. Mrs. Thompson's voice had urgency. "I think he just fainted. They're calling an ambulance." The knot in Sarah's gut tightened. It was just a child. A childhood should be filled with laughter and cupcakes, not panic and sirens. She pulled in a breath, steadied herself, and turned back to Jacob. "Let us get some distance, okay? We don't want to see that." But Jacob's curious eyes still focused on the scene, more fascinated than frightened. "Mom. What's happening?" "Just a little accident," she said, forcing a smile that felt like glass. As she watched the medics arrive, an instinctive rush of protectiveness overtook her. Maybe it was the mother in her, or perhaps the links in her heart that tied her to this community. The fear of losing Jacob, of facing the world alone without him, screamed at her. Yet, standing there, she realized how crucial it was to be strong, not just for herself but for the young boy relying on her. In that moment, Mike emerged from the crowd, his military instincts kicking in. He moved seamlessly, offering assistance to the ambulance crew. Sarah watched as he took charge, his presence soothing tension with a natural authority. "Mike, you can help?" she murmured, surprised at the depth of warmth rising inside her. "It's what we do," he said, confidence shining in his eyes, even as he caught her gaze. "We help each other." Was this it? The moment that would change everything? She felt torn. Here was someone who could understand, someone who had lived through darker days, yet the fear of letting him in still loomed over her. As he engaged with the paramedics, the magnetic force between them grew palpable. He caught her eyes again, and in that shared glance, she felt a sense of unity, a whisper of possibility. But would she dare? Moments rolled into minutes, and soon the accident would be a fading memory. Life continued, and so did the fair, but Sarah knew she was at a pivotal crossroads. The laughter and warmth around her felt distant, just like her dreams. As the medics wheeled the child away, the crowd began to disperse. Jacob tugged at her sleeve. "Can we get cupcakes now?" he asked, eyes wide with innocence. In that moment, Sarah understood. The sweetness she craved was not just in pastries, but in life itself, in the connections she formed. She could lean on Mike and keep Jacob safe. "Let us go find Mike," she said, heart racing. But before they could take a step, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket, breaking her focus. As she pulled it out, a chilling message flashed on the screen. "We need to talk about Jacob." Sarah's heart dropped. Suddenly, the laughter and sweet aromas of the fair faded into a haunting silence. What could that possibly mean? Was her world about to change again? The uncertainty loomed over her as she caught Mike's eye. Would she finally share her truth, or retreat into the shadows she knew all too well? Her phone felt like a lead weight in her hand, the words blaring at her like a siren. "We need to talk about Jacob." Fear twisted in her stomach again. Memories of late-night conversations with her sister echoed back. They had always warned her about the dangers of the outside world, the judgments, the assumptions. "What's wrong, Mom?" Jacob's voice broke through her frantic thoughts, his brow furrowed in worry. She forced a smile and tried to breathe deeply, reminding herself that he needed her to be strong. "It's nothing, sweetie. Just a message from a friend." But as she glanced back at Mike, now bustling around to help the medics, the truth hung heavily in the air. Could she trust him with this secret? There was something enticing about the way he commanded the crowd, his sharp instincts shining through. Maybe, just maybe, he could handle it. But could she? Would sharing the truth bond them or push him away? "Mom?" Jacob tugged at her sleeve again, his eyes wide with innocent worry that cut straight to her heart. "Can we go find Mike now?" She hesitated, the warmth of his small hand grounding her. In a world where secrets festered and darkness loomed, Jacob would always be her light. So, putting the phone back in her pocket, she swallowed her doubts. Okay, let us go find him. As they approached Mike, she watched him interact with the people around, offering comfort and assurance, and it struck her how valuable these moments were. She didn't want fear to overshadow that bond. Hey! Mike said, glancing up at them with a grin that made her heart flutter. Everything okay? Yeah, we just Sarah started. The statement hung in the air like an unfinished sentence. Here was everything she wanted: his understanding, his warmth, and yet here she stood, teetering on the edge of honesty and fear. I got a message just now, she finally confessed, surprising even herself. About Jacob. Mike's eyebrows shot up, attention fully engaged. Is everything all right? She sensed his sincerity and took a step closer. I'm not sure. I mean, it might be nothing, but his gaze was steady and patient. It felt like he was asking her to trust him. Maybe she could. What if I told you there are things about Jacob, things I'm scared to share? I'm here for you, Sarah, he said softly, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Whatever it is, let us face it together. At that moment, she was grateful for the good in people, the way Mike's presence lightened the load she carried. But was she truly ready to share the weight of her past? Would revealing that make her stronger or more vulnerable? I don't want to scare you, she whispered. Scared is a part of life, he replied, eyes flickering with unbreakable determination. We've all got our battles, right? It was this raw authenticity that drew her to him, but the darkness of her past clawed at the corners of her mind. Jacob's little voice broke through again. Mom? Can we please get those cupcakes now? I'm starving. Sarah chuckled, enamored by Jacob's excitement, a little light breaking through her tension. Sure, buddy. Cupcakes sound perfect. Just as they turned to leave, her phone buzzed again. She glanced down and felt her heart sink. Danielle, we can't keep ignoring this. It's important. Hadn't she just made up her mind to be honest? Perhaps life had a funny way of nudging her toward choices she wasn't ready to make. Sarah, what's wrong? Mike asked gently, sensing her shift. I think I need to talk to you, she admitted, the weight of truth beginning to settle over her like a cloak. Would he still be standing there if she unraveled the chaos within her? She could feel the stakes rising, a gentle push towards the edge of uncertainty. Would her next steps dissolve fear into freedom, or would they lead to a deeper pit of struggle? As they walked toward the fair, hand in hand, the sweet smell of cupcakes didn't eliminate the bittersweet taste of what lay ahead. Would Mike still look at her the same way when the truth finally surfaced? The afternoon sun hung low, and as laughter echoed from the fair booths, Sarah felt the tug of tomorrow waiting, impatient. What secrets would she unlock? What truth would she find? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the fairgrounds. Laughter and joy filled the air, a stark contrast to the unease swirling within Sarah. Jacob ran ahead, his small figure darting between booths, eyes wide with wonder. She wished she could share his innocence, but the knot in her stomach tightened with every step they took. Cupcakes. Jacob's voice rang out, pure joy radiating from him as he reached the brightly decorated stand. Sarah paused, anxiety grappling with the need to protect her son from what was lurking just below the surface. Do you think they have chocolate? She heard him ask the vendor, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. She forced a smile, watching him engage with the older woman who made the cupcakes, her heart softening at the sight. Hey! She turned to Mike, who was standing a bit back, still watching her with that steady gaze. I think maybe we should talk now. The words slipped out before she could second-guess herself. Mike took a step closer, closing the distance between them. Absolutely. His voice was calm, yet there was a resolve in his posture, as if he was ready for whatever she was about to reveal. The supportive energy he exuded washed over her like a familiar tide. "Can we, just go somewhere a little quieter?" she asked, glancing around at the bustling crowds. "Sure." He nodded, and together they stepped away from the noise, moving toward a small patch of grass lined with hay bales, the perfect place to sit and share burdens. "Mom, look!" Jacob called excitedly, holding up a cupcake topped with rainbow sprinkles, bliss written all over his face. She felt a pang of love mixed with fear, but she plastered on a smile, acknowledging his joy as best she could. Once they settled down, she could feel her heart race. "Jacob, he's special, but I don't think you understand what that means." "Sarah, you can tell me anything." Mike's eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, the world around them faded. "Trust me." She took a deep breath, the sweet scent of frosting and sugar swirling around her like a comforting blanket. "There are things about Jacob's health, things that are different from what most kids go through." Mike remained silent, intent on her every word. I don't even know how to explain it, but sometimes I feel like I'm protecting him from the world, and I don't know if it's right. What if by keeping secrets, I'm just causing more harm? What if he finds out?" Her voice trembled as she laid bare the fears that had kept her up at night, the ghosts of her past coming to haunt her. "Is it serious? What does he have?" The concern in Mike's voice was palpable, and it reassured her at the same time it frightened her more. "Jacob's never had an official diagnosis," she admitted, tears stinging her eyes. "I've kept him away from tests, from doctors because I can't bear the thought of someone labeling him and putting him in a box. What if he's not okay?" Mike frowned slightly, a mix of understanding and determination in his expression. "You're his rock, Sarah. But keeping secrets might be weighing down on you more than you realize." His words sunk in, resonating with the ache in her heart. It felt as if she had been walking a tightrope, straddling the line between protection and fear. "Maybe I'm just scared," she whispered. "Scared of what that truth might mean for us." He reached for her hand, his warmth spreading a sense of safety through her. "You're here, you're doing the best you can. Facing this together might be the best thing you could do for Jacob." Just then, Jacob ran back, a face smeared with icing and a cupcake in both hands. "Mom, look! It's the biggest one." The moment pulled Sarah from the shadows of her worry, and she laughed, her tension melting at the sight of her son's delight. But even as she smiled, the weight of the impending conversation lingered. "Maybe we just chew on a cupcake for a bit first," Mike said, his tone light but understanding their moment of joy couldn't erase the hard truths waiting to be spoken. As Jacob gleefully dug into his treat, Sarah felt the flicker of hope intertwining with her uncertainty. Would she find the courage to reveal everything when the time came? "Sarah," Mike said as she flicked her gaze back to him, searching his face for reassurance. "Whatever comes next, just remember you're not alone in this." The sky shifted into warm hues of red and orange as the fair continued bustling around them. It was a moment of peace amidst impending storms. Yet the real storm was only just beginning. Would she lean into the truth, unmasking the secrets that lay heavy in her heart? The fair lights glimmered, playing tricks on her mind, and as she watched Jacob dive back towards the cupcake stand, she wondered if she had the strength to face her own past because tomorrow, fate would test them all in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Sarah watched as Jacob's laughter danced in the air, pulling at her heartstrings. He was so carefree, a whirlwind of joy amidst the chaos of the fair. The way his eyes sparkled as he savored the first bite of frosting softened her worries for just a moment. She wanted to bottle that joy and protect it forever, but shadows still loomed at the edges of her mind. Mike's gaze lingered on her, and the intensity of his expression reminded her of their conversation's weight. "I want to be here for you, but you have to be open with me," he said gently, breaking through her thoughts. "It's hard," she admitted, offering a weak smile. "I've kept Jacob's situation close to my chest for so long." He shifted closer, his voice dropping to a comforting whisper. "You're not alone. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." She felt the warmth of his determination seep into her, dulling the sharpness of her fear. Maybe it was time to let someone else in, someone who might help her navigate the uncertain waters ahead. Just then, Jacob scampered over, crumbs trailing down his shirt. "Look, Mom!" he exclaimed, his little hands covered in colorful icing. "I made a friend." Sarah glanced over as Jacob pointed to a girl nearby, perhaps a year older, with a pink balloon and a bright smile. The girl waved enthusiastically, and Jacob waved back, his innocence radiating. It seemed so simple, making friends with a smile and a shared treat. "That's wonderful, buddy," she replied, though a flicker of anxiety darted through her. What if Jacob's health issues affected the friendships he would try to make? What if this new friend couldn't understand? "Can I go play with her?" Jacob asked, bouncing on his heels, excitement bubbling forth. "Sure, just stay where I can see you, okay?" Sarah answered reluctantly, her heart pounding as he dashed off. As she watched him frolic with the girl, her stomach twisted in knots. Mike nudged her. "See? He's just fine." "Yeah, but how much of me is projecting my fears onto him?" she whispered, more to herself than to Mike. "Maybe he just needs time to find out who he really is." His words touched her more than she expected. Time. That fragile concept made her realize she could delay facing the truth, but it also meant living with uncertainty every day. With an unsteady breath, she turned to Mike, gaze locked. "What if I told you? I've thought about taking him to see someone." "A doctor?" The admission came out softer than she intended, and the weight felt astonishingly fresh. Mike's response was immediate, his posture straightening. "That's a big step. Do you think you're ready?" "I don't know." She looked down at her hands, gathering courage from their connection. "The truth is, I don't want to hear what they might say. What if it changes everything?" "Or it might not," he replied. "It could give you both clarity. It could help you understand him better than you ever imagined." She sighed, the pressure of having to make the right decision bearing down on her. "What if I'm not strong enough for that? Didn't you just watch him thrive for a moment?" Mike gestured toward Jacob, who was gleefully trying to teach the other child a dance. "He has strength, Sarah. And so do you." For a split second, she allowed hope to bloom. Maybe tackling this problem head-on could create more moments like the one they shared. But then, as if sensing her internal struggle, Jacob rushed back towards them, his cheeks flushed. "Mom! Can we get cotton candy next?" His innocence tugged at her heart, but fear still gripped her. "Sure, love," she replied, forcing the words through shaken lips. As they stood to leave, Mike glanced at her, the unspoken bond between them hanging heavy in the air. "When you're ready, I'm here. Just think about it." She nodded, her heart a melange of emotions: fear, hope, love. Would she finally braver in the face of those looming truths? As Jacob skipped ahead, excitement overshadowing the swirling uncertainty, Sarah felt a flicker of determination. The fair lights twinkled above, igniting her resolve, reminding her that sometimes walking toward the storm meant finding the brightest rainbows afterward. "Tomorrow," Mike said slowly, a knowing smile crossing his face. "Tomorrow, we can start fresh." With renewed energy and a flickering hope, Sarah took a step forward. But she couldn't shake the sense that the hardest decisions were still just around the bend, waiting to confront her head-on. As they rounded the corner towards the cotton candy stand, a sudden scream pierced the fairgrounds, echoing through the joyful chaos. What could it mean? And would they be prepared for what came next? Sarah froze, the cheerful din of laughter and music around her fading into an ominous silence. Panic gripped her chest as she turned to Mike, his brows knitted in concern. The sound had come from the direction Jacob had run. "Stay right here," she urged, her voice trembling. With no time to think, she rushed toward the source of the scream. As she ran, her heart raced with each footfall. What if something happened to Jacob? What if that innocent joy he had radiated moments ago had turned into something dark and terrifying? Just ahead, she spotted a small commotion near the carousel. A crowd had gathered, an anxious murmur rising like a wave. Sarah surged forward, pushing through the throngs of festival-goers. "Jacob!" she cried, desperation lacing her voice as she scanned the sea of unfamiliar faces. Finally, she caught sight of him. He stood at the edge of the crowd, wide-eyed. Beside him was the girl he'd been playing with, her pink balloon clutched tightly in her small hand, face blotchy with tears. Relief washed over Sarah, followed by a surge of frustration. Was it not enough for a moment of joy without chaos intruding? "Are you okay, buddy?" she asked, kneeling to be at eye level. Jacob nodded, though his lips trembled. "What happened?" The girl stepped forward, sniffling. "A lady fell. She scared us." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "A lady? Is she all right?" From the growing crowd, an older man rushed forward, offering reassurance as he pushed through. "We've called for help, she just fainted," he announced, his voice steady. A sigh of relief almost brought Sarah to her knees. As medics arrived, her heart quieted, though shadows still lurked around her thoughts. "See? Everything's okay," Mike said, his presence beside her a balm to her frayed nerves. "They shouldn't let things like this happen," she muttered, more to herself than to him, frustration tinging her voice. "What if—" "Sarah," he turned her to face him. "Let us just be grateful she's getting help. You can't control everything. You can only be there for Jacob." Standing there, surrounded by the bustle of the fair, she realized how tightly she clung to control. Growing up, she had felt so much slip away, she didn't want to lose Jacob too. Yet he was not just hers to protect. He needed to live, to stumble and make friends, to be a kid. "Maybe you're right," she said softly, allowing Mike's words to seep into the cracks of her resolve. As the medics attended to the fallen woman, Sarah felt Jacob's hand slip into hers. It was warm, grounding. "Can we go on the carousel?" he asked, his innocence sparkly beneath the cloud of earlier chaos. "Yes. But you promise to stay near, okay?" "I promise." His smile was back, brightening the dark corners where fear had played games in her mind. With firm strides, they broke free from the crowd, excitement bubbling within her chest. She realized this moment was part of the journey, navigating through fear and finding joy together. As they approached the carousel, she felt a shift inside her. Maybe taking that leap toward seeking help was not about fear, but the potential for hope. "Tomorrow," she whispered, the touch of Mike's hand on her shoulder igniting a flicker of courage. "Tomorrow we'll figure this out." But just as they stepped closer, another scream echoed, this time more chilling. Sarah glanced back, dread pooling in her stomach. What now? Would she be strong enough to face whatever came next? Sarah's heart raced anew as she turned her head toward the direction of the scream. Panic gripped her once more, searching for the cause like a lifeline. She felt Jacob's small hand tighten around hers, sensing the shift in her energy. "Mommy?" he asked, his eyes wide and questioning. "It's okay, sweetheart." "Stay close," she whispered, forcing herself to breathe deeply. The initial chaos had momentarily buried her unease, but now that the scream punctured the air, it felt as if the ground itself shifted beneath her feet. They edged back toward the crowd, curiosity drawing them closer despite the knot in Sarah's stomach. A woman had been pushed forward, her face pale as she stumbled backward, clutching her stomach. She was young, her torn dress showed a hint of color, but now it lay caked with dirt and grass. Sarah's protective instincts flared once more. She couldn't let Jacob see this. A knot of people was forming around the scene, whispers fluttering like frightened birds. What happened? Who could do something like that? Each comment washing over Sarah like waves, making her feel both engulfed and paralyzed. Enough. Give her space. A voice cut sharply through the murmur. A tall man with worry etched across his brow pushed forward into the center of the crowd. He was clad in a denim jacket, his hair falling into his eyes. There was urgency in his movements, his hands gesturing toward the medics to hurry. Jacob tugged on her shirt. "Mom, are they going to help her?" "Yes, honey, they are," she reassured him, forcing a smile upon her lips. "Let us go away from all this." But before they could retreat, the man spotted them. "You! Over here!" He barked, urgency dripped from his command like rain on wet pavement. With hesitation, Sarah approached. "Do you need help?" He put a hand on Jacob's shoulder, his grip firm yet kind. "She needs someone in her corner. Someone to stabilize her while the medics arrive. Can you hold her head filled with fear? Just for a moment?" "Me? But I'm not trained." Her voice faltered, shaken by his intensity. "Neither was I yesterday," the man replied, the weight of his words sending a shiver down her spine. "But you're a mother. That counts more than anything." In that tense moment, Sarah felt a floodgate of understanding open. The fear she held within, the anxiety over every little bump in Jacob's life, was potentially stunting his growth. She had to trust not just Jacob, but herself. "Okay. Let us do this," she said, the tremor in her voice replaced by the calm of resolution. As she knelt beside the woman, their eyes met. The young woman's gaze was weak but grateful. "Thank you, just stay with me," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the chaos. Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. In that brief exchange, a bridge formed between them, forged from resilience and shared vulnerability. The world pulsed around them, but in this moment, it faded to mere background noise. "I'm here," Sarah murmured, holding the woman's head gently, feeling the rise and fall of her breaths. Spectators behind her were a blur, anxieties echoed in muffled tones. As medics swarmed in, their professionalism enveloping the scene with reassurance, Sarah felt an unusual peace bloom in her chest. But even as she held the woman steady, another scream echoed, this one slicing through her sense of calm like a sharp blade. "No! Don't! Please!" An urgent clutch at her heart sent shadows creeping back. With Jacob beside her, pain and bravery intertwined. Somehow, she would face whatever storm came next. Deep down, she knew the journey ahead was just beginning. Moments of chaos, intertwined with glimmers of hope, were waiting. The question loomed, but would she have the courage to face the truth that was becoming clearer every day? Holding the woman's head, Sarah felt the world around her begin to tilt again. The urgency in the cries and shouts pierced through the haze of her focus, pulling her back into the reality of the moment. Jacob's small hand squeezed her leg, the weight of his worry cutting through her new resolve. "Mommy, I don't like this," he whispered, his voice shaky and childlike. It twisted Sarah's heart, the innocence in his tone cutting deeper than the chaos around them. "Neither do I, sweetheart," she replied softly, trying to keep her voice steady for him. She needed to show Jacob strength, even as her own knees trembled beneath her. "But we need to stay right here, okay? Just for a little while longer." The medics arrived, movements precise as they began assessing the young woman. With each second that passed, Sarah's heart beat faster, an anxious rhythm that seemed to echo across the crowd. She knew she could let go, that these trained professionals were more than equipped to take her place, but there was something deep inside her that resisted. "Thank you for staying," the woman managed to say, her words a gentle balm amidst the frantic atmosphere. "I didn't think I would make it." "I'm not going anywhere," Sarah assured her, locking her gaze into the woman's. In those emerald eyes, there lay fear and vulnerability, and somehow, they both understood each other's silent plea, "Hold on just a little bit longer." "There's a snake," someone shouted, pointing just beyond the crowd. Panic erupted as people surged backward like a wave hitting the shore, fear contorting their faces. Sarah instinctively reached for Jacob, pulling him closer as the group scattered. The woman flinched, and in that split second, Sarah's protective instincts kicked in like instinctual armor. "It's okay. Stay with me." She could feel the crowd's fear radiating, but her focus remained unwavering. "Mommy." Jacob's voice was filled with terror now, his grip painfully tight around her waist. "I've got you," she said, willing herself to remain calm. The noise dulled, the frantic eyes around them blurred into the background. Then came another voice, drowned in the chaos yet familiar. The man in the denim jacket pushed through the throng once more, his eyes fixed on Sarah. "You've got to stay present. Be her strength. Just hold on. Help is on the way." One of the medics hollered, drawing closer now, but the way their tone blended with the crowd seemed to only amplify Sarah's heartbeat. Another scream sent shockwaves through her, reverberating against her chest like a drum. "No. Don't. Please." As she felt Jacob trembling, small tears seeping from the corners of his eyes, reality hit Sarah like a stone. This terrified world filled with screams and chaos was what she had shielded him from. It was what she had fought to understand and keep at bay. But vulnerability was a part of life, it was real, and now, it was crashing around them. The woman's breath was quickening, and Sarah focused again, saying, "You're okay. You're not alone." But was she telling the woman that, or herself? "Mommy." Jacob's whisper cracked, and she suddenly feared more than just the situation at hand. Would her son always carry this fear? What if she failed him now? "Keep your eyes on me, buddy," she said with tenderness, but it came with an aching weight. She wanted to believe they would walk from this moment, hand in hand, and never look back. Suddenly, the crowd parted as the medics reached them, pushing through with calm authority. Sarah felt a rush of emotions: relief, fear, confusion. She released her hold on the woman ever so slightly, enough for the medics to take over. But then, as Sarah turned, she saw the man in the denim jacket again. His eyes were locked with hers, conveying a silent urgency that made her pulse race. "We have to help everyone here," he said, his voice steady amidst the chaos. Would she step into the unknown and take the next leap? Could she trust beyond her fears, stepping up when it mattered most? As she prepared to answer him, the ground shook beneath her feet, only this time, it was not chaos, but the shimmering certainty of her potential shifting behind her as the sirens began to wail in the distance. What lay ahead could change everything. Would she have the courage to embrace it? The sirens grew louder, cutting through the fray like a lifeline. Sarah's heart raced, an unsettling collage of hope and terror swirling within her. All she could hear was Jacob's shallow breathing and the distant wail of the ambulance, but her mind narrowed on the denim jacket and the weight of unspoken expectations. He pointed towards the mass of terrified people. "They need someone. You're here, be their anchor." His tone sparked something deep inside her. Just maybe, she could do more than just hold on. "All right," she whispered to herself, a glimmer of resolve flickering to life. She turned back to Jacob. "Stay close, buddy." His wide eyes met hers, searching for the strength he desperately needed. She wanted to believe she could show it to him. From the corner of her eye, she saw the woman, the one she'd been comforting, being wheeled away by the medics, her face pale but showing a flicker of gratitude. Sarah's hands instinctively went to her chest as she breathed deeply, trying to latch onto that flicker. "Mommy, don't go," Jacob cried, clutching her arm like a lifeline. The panic in his voice sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. "I'm right here," she assured him, stripping her own fear away like peeling back layers. "But we have to help. Okay?" "Okay," he whispered, trepidation still lacing his words. Sarah took a step forward, pushing through the remnants of the crowd, feeling the eyes of strangers upon her. Each step felt heavier than the last, yet she forced herself to keep moving. She looked towards the denim jacket. He was directing people, guiding them to safety. Hoping against hope, she approached him. "What can I do?" she asked, breathless yet determined. "Help with those who are hurt," he replied, as he gestured towards a cluster of people who were tending to a man with a bandaged hand. "Their injuries may look worse than they are. Offer a steady hand." She nodded, her heart racing not from fear but from a need to respond, a drive to be part of something greater. As they walked, she overheard a woman say, "I can't believe this is happening," and another voice, shaky, adding, "What if it gets worse?" The collective fear was palpable, a thick mist coating the air. But beneath that fog lay resilience. Each footfall seemed to echo with urgency. They approached the group, and Sarah took a deep breath, finding a cool sense of clarity. "Listen, everyone," she called out, her voice surprisingly steady. "We're going to get through this. Let us focus on helping each other." The denim jacket man met her gaze, a flicker of respect in his eyes. She noticed a few heads nodding, and for the first time since the chaos began, a small flicker of control settled over the anxious crowd. "Can someone help me?" she asked, addressing a volunteer beside her. "We need to check on everyone if anyone has injuries or needs to sit down," hands raised hesitantly. As she knelt beside an elderly man struggling to breathe, she remembered Jacob and felt a pang of longing for his safety before returning her focus. "You're going to be okay. Just breathe with me," she guided him gently, her voice soft yet firm. He glanced up at her, his eyes filled with gratitude, and for a heartbeat, Sarah felt a bond. She wasn't alone in this, neither was he. They were in it together. But just as relief washed over her, a loud commotion rose again. Someone was shouting, "The snake! It's back!" An electric tension coursed through the crowd once more, igniting panic. "Stay where you are!" The denim jacket voice boomed as he ran toward the noise, and in that moment, Sarah had a choice to make. Would she stand firm and be Jacob's strength, or would she dive back into the chaos, confronting her fears not just for herself but for everyone? "Jacob," she called, heart pounding as she spotted him at the periphery. "We can't move. Stay here." As she dashed to him, she wondered what storm would come next if she had the courage to embrace it all. What lay ahead would change the fabric of her family forever. Would she find herself lost or reborn in the chaos? The moment Sarah reached Jacob, she wrapped her arms around him, drawing him close. He looked up, eyes wide with fear, and she could feel the little tremors of anxiety running through his small body. Instinctively, she squeezed him tighter. "I've got you," she whispered, her throat constricted as if trying to hold back the tumult of emotions surging inside her. But then chaos erupted. The crowd shifted, bodies jostled as parents pulled their children away, fleeing the perceived danger. The denim jacket man shouted orders, trying to restore order amidst the rising panic. Sarah's heart raced not just for herself, but for Jacob and the others. "Stay with me, sweetheart," she said, holding his hand firmly, anchoring both of them. The warmth of his tiny palm bolstered her resolve, reminding her of the strength they shared. As the crowd scattered, she could see the itty-bitty glimmer of fear in Jacob's eyes. "Mommy, I'm scared." "I know, buddy. But remember, we're brave," she said, her tone steady yet forceful, fighting against the chaos surrounding them. "Together, we can face anything." Facing the noise, she caught the man in the denim jacket directing people away from the threatened area. His unwavering presence acted as a beacon, and Sarah felt that if she just stayed near him, maybe they could navigate this storm. "Everyone, we need to listen to each other," he barked. "We need to get to safety, but I need everyone to stay calm." Drawing strength from one another, Sarah took a deep breath, fighting through the fear. She held Jacob's hand with newfound determination, and suddenly saw herself not just as a scared mother, but as someone capable of fortitude. "Listen to him," she shouted, her voice cutting through the din with surprising clarity. "Find a safe spot. Look for someone to help you." The reactions varied from frantic to responsive as her words settled over the people nearby. They started listening, instinctively moving toward the right direction. Encouraged by their response, she tightened her grip on Jacob. "Let us go," she urged, leading him through the dispersing crowd. The chaos lessened, the adrenaline in her veins started to fade, yet within her, something new kindled a fierce pride in how they responded. As they stepped aside, together they began to settle, the distance from danger sinking in like the setting sun. Just then, a gentle tap on her shoulder made her turn. It was the denim jacket man, his expression turned gentle now. "You did well back there," he said, the respect shining in his eyes palpable. "Your bravery will inspire them all, especially your son." Sarah felt a wave of warmth wash over her. "I'm just afraid of what could happen." His nod of understanding soothed her. "Fear will always hang around. It's about how we choose to act despite it. You showed courage." Jacob's eyes, still wide but now filled with admiration, darted between their exchange. "Mom, you were so brave," he exclaimed, a beaming smile breaking through his earlier worry. "Thanks, buddy," Sarah replied, her heart swelling. "But you know what? We can be brave together. That's the easy part." At that moment, she realized that the path forward was not solely about overcoming her fears, but also about nurturing the spirit of courage in Jacob. As the sirens began to fade and the last of the crowd diminished, the chaos transformed into a soft hum of chatter. The fairground, once a cacophony of fear, began transitioning back into a joyous atmosphere as families reunited. "Let us go find those cupcakes now," Sarah said, her voice tinged with enthusiasm, urging Jacob forward like a current of warmth washing over them. Relief cascaded through her, filling all the nooks that had been shadowed by doubt. "Yes. Can I get two?" Jacob's excitement lit up like fireworks in their shared moment. "Only if you promise to share one with me," she chuckled, laughter bubbling up as they began to move. Beside them, the denim jacket man smiled, watching them as they ventured toward the sweet smell of pastries. "We'll be all right, won't we?" Jacob asked, glancing up at her. "Yes, we will." Sarah wrapped her arm around his small shoulders, tight enough to foster strength but loose enough to let him know he could continue flourishing. Together, they stepped into the bright lights of the fair, the laughter twining through the air, now intertwined with their stories of courage and challenge. Tomorrow promised unknowns, but they would meet it hand in hand, ready to face whatever storms awaited them, just as they had that day. As they drifted away towards the cupcakes, Sarah understood the heart of family was not just in the narratives of joy but in the sharing of burdens, in nurturing strength, and in facing fears with every step down this winding path of life. Now was the time to embrace this transformation, both of them, now and always, together. And that was their biggest victory yet. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel, because you don't want to miss the next exclusive stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep receiving powerful content that uplifts your spirit. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. We want to know how this touched your heart. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.